Zum Sex, Spirit and Birth Online-Kongress 2016. Mein Name ist Kiria Vandekamp, ich bin Hebamme und Gastgeberin dieses Kongresses und ich habe heute wieder einen besonderen Gast bei mir, Puja Diana Richardson. Herzlich willkommen, liebe Puja, herzlich willkommen, liebe Zuschauerinnen und Zuschauer. Ich möchte euch Puja kurz vorstellen. Puja ist geboren in Südafrika und praktizierte und lehrte während mehr als 20 Jahren ganzheitliche Massage und strukturelle Körperarbeit. 1979 wurde sie Schülerin des indischen Mystikers Osho. Ihr Interesse für Sex und Heilung und Meditation führte sie zu einer intensiven Erforschung und zu einer einzigartigen Synthese von Tantra, die sie 1993 erstmals präsentierte. Seither leitet sie Making Love Retreats für Paare gemeinsam mit ihrem Partner Raja. Sie hat ganz viele Bücher herausgebracht und auch einen Film, der heißt Slow Sex. Viele wunderbare Bücher und ich habe Puja eingeladen, weil sie eine meiner wichtigsten Lehrerinnen ist und ganz wunderbare Dinge über Sexualität lehrt, die ganz viel mit Geburt zu tun haben. Und wenn man die verinnerlicht, dann kann man auch viel leichter gebären oder eine ganz andere Herangehensweise ans Gebären lernen. Deswegen habe ich sie eingeladen. Wir führen das Interview in Englisch, denn Puja spricht ein bisschen Deutsch, nur das reicht nicht für unser Interview. Deswegen machen wir das in Englisch. Hi, Puja. I'm so happy that you're here.
Hi, Kiria. Really, thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you very much. I just told the people that I invited you because you are one of my most important teachers around the whole topic of sexuality. I learned so much from you that really changed my life and my attitude, my feeling in my body and in my sexuality. It really opened doors for me.
Oh, beautiful.
And in your work, you always speak of the keys, and I really think those keys opened big doors for me. And since you say you are a teacher of Tantra, also, I would like to ask you, maybe you could talk a little about what Tantra means for you, because I know there's a lot of confusion or a lot of different aspects of Tantra around today.
Yes, that's a good starting point. Thank you, Kiria. The word Tantra, it's an ancient Sanskrit word from India, and it means expansion of consciousness, expansion of energy. And basically, if we look at sex, how we do it in our society, it's all about compression and getting more and more tense and compressing the energy in the body. Whereas Tantra is about allowing the energy to rise through the body. And this happens through relaxation. And when we learn how to relax in sex, then we experience a real inner expansion in the body. In normal sex, we can say that we push the vitality out the body, you know, in going for orgasm. But when we learn to relax and not go for it, then we start to absorb and contain and expand with that energy.
Yes, and in regular sex, the focus is much on excitement and, like you say, tension and reaching a goal. You want to have an orgasm and things need to happen.
Yes, and this is the basic misunderstanding in our society with sex. Certainly, the style that you talk about is an option, but we tend to think about it's the only way. But it's the problem is that we think something has to happen and that we have to have an orgasm. And really with Tantra, when you start to let the energy stay in the body, it's more like you have an inner orgasm where the energy expands within you. You don't kind of discharge it in, you know, a pleasant orgasm, but it's only a few seconds. And the other problem is that many women do have difficulty to build up enough sensation, build up enough tension to come to the peak. And then they think there's something wrong with them. So this is, you know, one of the sadnesses is that we kind of live to an ideal of sex that actually is not the only way, and in the long term, not so good for the body. And this is where it links very well with the birthing process that you are involved in and supporting people with.
Why could it be important not to have a goal in sex?
Well, when we have a goal, our attention is a little bit more ahead, or we're aiming at something in the future. We miss the real present moment because we're trying to get somewhere. So not having a goal, just you drop into the moment and be with your body and see where your body wants to take you, not where your mind thinks you should go. And that more anchoring in the body, listening to the body, trusting the body, this gives a whole new feeling to women and to men. But we're talking about women now, but the whole inner tissues of the body, you have more consciousness, you have more connection to them. Usually we are a little bit outside of ourselves, pushing the body. But this way, as you have experienced, you merge with the tissues, you connect with yourself on a very fine sensitivity level.
Yes. And what I experience very often is that the young women that come to my classes to prepare for birth, and they have difficulties to really feel their body. They all have had sex, but they usually do not have a lot of consciousness in the body. And I think that makes a lot of problems for birth and for sex.
Yes, yes. It's a basic kind of like missing link in our society and in our education. This connection to the body that most of us don't have this, we haven't been trained or we haven't been advised to feel in and down into the tissues. So definitely for men and for women, it gives a problem in daily life, in sex, and definitely for women giving birth. This makes a difference because they can't really feel in and open up on a cellular level the tissues, into the expansion process that is birth.
Yes.
I do want to say, Kiria, that I have not had children.
Yes, I know.
Not had, that experience. And also to say that was a conscious choice not to have children in this life. At the same time, like you, being a midwife, and I have had many midwives come to the Making Love retreats, and how immediately when they return to work and when they work with their clients for the birth preparation, say how the basic tantric principles really support this whole relaxation process which is required, for birth.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I think what you teach is the keys, that's so important. And sometimes women overlook those things because they are, in a way, they're very simple things. They start with breathing.
Right.
And then when I talk about it, some women think, oh yes, I know breathing. Yeah, breathing is important. Yeah. But they don't really take it in and work with it, because breathing, of course, we breathe all the time, but that's not the same as to really consciously breathe.
Yes, yes.
And I think you teach a lot about that too.
Yes, absolutely. Because as you say, the body breathes. We don't have to do it. But if we bring our awareness behind the breathing and really get into the breathing, then it's a huge expansion, and also a very important bridge from mind to body. Because yes, we know breathing by the mind, we can follow it with the mind, but we don't enter the breath. And if we can enter the breath, through being with it, then suddenly you're very much in the present moment. You're out of your mind, you're in your body. So it is a tricky one for people to realize how important it is, as far as getting more embodied.
Yes, and I must say, breathing for birth is the one thing that women report to me the most after they have given birth, that if they practice breathing consciously, it helps them the most for birth. It's the greatest tool.
Interesting. Yes, yeah. And I would imagine so, because really this, that you enter, your body so fully. And because then with the breath, you're also massaging the inner tissues. You're bringing vitality through the awareness of the breath. You're also then connecting to yourself on a tissue level.
Yes.
The muscles and the Gewebe.
Yes, yes. And if you breathe deep, your breath goes down much further, down into your pelvis until the perineum. And when you breathe shallow, just normal breathing up here, you never go there. You never reach your pelvis.
So this really is a key that you mentioned, Kiria, to take the breath down, through the diaphragm, through the belly, and that naturally massages the whole genital area.
Yes, it can be very sensual in itself, just breathing consciously.
Yes, yes, delicious.
Yes. Yes, and to practice that for yourself, for your life, and during sex is so important. Preparation for giving birth in a beautiful way. I think if people just change the way they breathe during sex, many things start to change, and it automatically brings more consciousness to the moment when you really breathe deeply.
Yes, yes, really important.
Yeah. Can you say a little bit about the difference between men and women energetically? Because I think that's not known usually.
Well, it's a little bit difficult to do it in a few minutes, but I'll try.
A short introduction.
We tend to think of man and women as the same. Of course, our genitals look different and so on, but that we're basically the same. But really, the way nature designed us is that we are equal forces, but opposite forces. And through this, we can then complement each other. So how that actually works on an energy level is, you can imagine like the body has an inner magnet, like the planet has a magnet, and there's a north pole and a south pole. We're the same with the body. And so there's a plus pole and a minus pole, like in a magnet. Now, the plus pole is the pole that raises the energy. The minus pole is the pole that receives the energy. So this means two things. One, that within ourselves, as individual men, as individual women, we can circulate energy, sexual energy, vitality, within our own body between these two poles. Now, the two poles are the heart, breasts and chest area, and the genital area. Okay, so those are the two poles. Now, the poles are not the same in man and woman. They're equal and they're opposite. So in man, his energy raising pole, his plus pole is in the genitals. And that also is why man is so ready for sex. Now, woman, her receptive pole is in the genitals. And you can see that, from nature. She's created this canal. You look at the male genitals, it created this like channel. So you can see it makes sense. One gives, the other receives. Now, in a woman's body, her energy raising pole is not in the genitals. It's in the breasts and in the heart. And women actually know that the breasts are very important for their sexual awakening, their sexual opening. But our society tends to focus on orgasm and the clitoris. So with women, we are focusing really on our receptive pole and causing, sensation and excitement there through the clitoris, which is nice, but it always leads to, an orgasm, if you're lucky. But we're not really awakening our bodies in a deep way. And we all know that as women. We just say, yes, okay, we go ahead. We don't really feel ready. Now, for women's body to open fully and in a very deep way, the breasts are more important than the vagina and the clitoris. And so when women start to feel the breasts from within themselves, then they will notice how the whole body starts to become alive. And then eventually, after some time, there will be some kind of answering in the vagina, which does manifest, not always, but generally as is like really longing to have man inside you. So the difference is that, you know, women's energy is raised through the breasts, and it takes quite a while. And this is something we don't appreciate, you know, because man's rhythm is so much faster, and women, we want to make our guy happy. We just say yes, but we know deep inside we want more time. And so if we can understand that our bodies are equal, that, you know, with their male force, female force, they're equal, but we need to make them complementary and start to raise the female energy through the breasts and allow the time. And this also brings much more consciousness into the female tissues, especially in the genital area, and, you know, much more capacity to open the tissues and relax into them, which is, of course, ideal preparation for the birth process. So really you can say that man and woman are like, we're the same, we like little magnets, but it's like if, you know, man is standing upside down. No, we're like an inverted magnet. His positive pole here, woman's receptive pole there, and her positive pole here, and male receptive pole here. So the male receptive pole is the chest area and the heart. So this is a design by nature that has been the understanding of Tantra for over 10,000 years, and only now in chromosome study has been established as true. Yes, man and woman have got both aspects. Woman has man and man has woman within. So it's embracing this basic magnetic understanding that brings a whole shift to the sexual experience. Of course, you know, man has to be more compassionate, understand woman does like sex. She's not frigid. She's not just like saying no. She just needs more time to kiss, to cuddle, to lie together, you know, feel her own breasts. Man can also support through touching the breasts, not stimulating. See, that takes it in another direction, but just holding, loving, so that women can enter into that part of her body. And like I say, it just changes the whole picture and what you feel. You know, it's like what you were talking about, this whole inner sensitivity and the tissues widening and opening.
Yes. And what I found interesting in your teachings also, that you said that women need some kind of relaxation to awaken their sexuality, their sexual feelings. And for men, it's much easier if they have tension in the body to let it go, to release it during sex. But women usually, to be open, they need to be more relaxed. And what I hear from a lot of women, especially moms, young moms, that there's so much so many things going on and so much tension building up. They don't feel sexual. They don't feel relaxed enough. And that's important, I think, to know for women, that when they want to go back there, when they have the feeling, oh, I don't feel a lot of sexual energy in my body, that you need to focus on relaxation first and not on doing something.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely. And in that way, through relaxing, you start to open to yourself. Yes. And then connect with what you feel. And it is like this, that women, especially young mothers, but women in general, we multitaskers. We do many things at once. Mm-hmm. So it can be that our attention is all over the place or involved with 5 or 6 things. So the idea of to come down and feel your body feels like worlds away. But actually, once we do that, we'll find that we are, you know, there is something happening in our bodies. But important also is we look to feel horny before we have sex.
Yeah, that's what the magazines tell us, you know. You need to be horny, you need to be sexy, put on this and use this and that and watch porn or whatever. That's what magazines tell people.
And the magazines are really causing a big disaster.
Yeah.
And so basically, you know, with women and with men, it's, you don't make love only when you feel horny, or, you know, you haven't made love for a few weeks, suddenly, you know, you feel horny. It's like suddenly being hungry and you have to go and eat. It's more to realize that if you make love in a relaxed way, that the body is always ready. No, so we have to shift away from this idea that to have sex, we have to be horny. Actually, to have a real deeper, more fulfilling sex, then we need to be, relaxed, have time, give space, understand that woman needs more time. And it requires a man to be patient, but that's also a good thing, because in the end, if a man really can touch women in a deeper way, the love that comes back from woman to man, there's nothing really like that in a man's life, to feel the love of women. And a lot of it is in his hands, but he doesn't realize, how to give women more time. And also women, we have to see how it's so important for us to please the man and do things in his timing. So we do have a fear to just say, hey, can we just wait a bit, or et cetera, et cetera. So changing the way you have sex does deal with many other little aspects that are unconsciously running in us as we have sex. Pleasing the man, doing it in his timing, wanting to have an orgasm before him, or or one at the same time. So there's a lot of tension in sex, which is really because of the misunderstanding, and it's not strictly necessary.
Yes, I think an important aspect that you're talking about is communication between the couples. And I think that's also very important for their own sex life, but also for preparing for birth, because for many women, it's difficult to set boundaries in this kind of intimate connection. They, as you said, they want to please the man, but it repeats when they give birth. They want to be nice and not say, oh no, this is too fast, don't do a vaginal exam yet, I'm not ready yet, I need some time, or I don't want it at all. And I think also there they can prepare for birth by learning to talk about what's really in the moment, what they really feel, and when they do it with their partner during sex.
Yes, that's a very valuable point. I agree, absolutely. And, often with communication, it's about how we say something.
Mm-hmm.
And if we have like a history or an overload of tension around, a certain subject, when we say something, it can come very charged and hurtful.
Yes.
And so this is the thing, to really speak out of the present and not with any subtext.
Yeah, that's difficult.
It is difficult, but if you want to communicate and not cause a reaction in the other person or resistance, so it's a matter really of communicating from the heart. And when someone really talks from the heart in the moment, which in sex and especially more so in birth is so engaging, if you talk from the heart, then the other heart receives it. But if there's a little nyet, like you always or you never, or if there's some sharpness in there because of our history, it's not going to arrive so well. So it does take practice. And as you say, starting off in sex, about boundaries, and I don't see it so much as boundaries, because that looks like a separation. It's more like being self-responsible.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And if we do go over our boundaries, which is also a good word, but, if we are too fast in letting the man into us, inside it starts a little negative reaction or resentment, which can later pop up. So it's very, very, it's like honoring your own body and honoring love. And through that, actually, it helps men to learn, about women, or, that we are different.
Yes. And I think, like you said, it's so satisfying for a man to enter a woman that's really ready and that really wants to receive him. And, in my experience, it's really what it does to the man. He relaxes and feels like, oh, I'm home again. That's where I belong. And for me, it was also like I really had a flash when I learned this. It was like opening up doors for me to go into this receptivity and to just receive the man, not to do anything, but it's something that happened inside to open. It was like totally blissful feeling. It was like, oh, that's what I was born to do,
Wow.
to receive. And it was so beautiful. And I was like, I'm not doing anything. He's not doing anything. We're just lying there and I'm in total bliss.
Yes, amazing, isn't it?
Yes.
And I think that it's good, this word receptivity, because we tend to think receptivity is passivity, that we just like, you say you're not doing anything. Actually, you were totally there in your body with all your awareness.
Yes.
And that creates kind of like a draw or receptivity in the body. So very easily when we talk about women in receptivity, it's like, oh, we just lie there. So, it's good for women to know that receptivity is a power and a force, because then you can draw man into you, like you say. You know, when the vagina is really welcoming and ready, then the vagina has the capacity and the power to really receive that energy and to move it through the body. So, great.
Well, I know both those feelings. I know the feeling of just lying there, not feeling anything.
Oh,
I know that very well. I had that a lot of times. I still do sometimes. It has a lot to do with how much tension I have in my body, because sometimes I cannot let go enough, not deep enough to really be receptive, because it's not a passive thing, like you say. It's an active thing that I do inside, or it's a mixture of doing something inside and letting it happen. It's difficult to explain, I think.
Like being, you know.
Yes.
Your being and letting things unfold.
Yes, and sometimes it's like then I have the key and I can really let it happen and open up and receive the energy and let the energy flow with the partner. Yeah.
Yes. And interesting you say that, you know, when you feel tensions in the body, you can't get there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you consciously have to work through the body and relax. So in this sense, you know, for the birthing process, this capacity to go and identify tension, relax them, open more into the tissues, is, you know, very, very, very helpful.
Yes, and what you said, identifying tension is the first thing, because sometimes if you ask a woman, do you feel tension in your body? Oh no, there's no tension, I'm relaxed, I'm just sitting here. And it takes a while to really realize how much tension we have in the body usually.
Yes.
and yeah,
for sure, like one area is the whole pelvic floor area.
Yes.
The perineum, the vagina, we all, men and women, we're all holding this area a bit tight.
Yes.
So I remember many years ago, I said to a friend of mine, oh, I'm just going so crazy. I keep relaxing my pelvic floor and I go back there again and it's tight and I'm just going nuts because all day I'm relaxing, you know, it's tightening, whatever. So this long process. And she said to me, oh, well, that's funny. No, I don't have that tension there. And this must have been about 30 years ago. And I was like, oh, okay. So I have the tension, she doesn't. Okay. But then next time I saw her, which was some months later, she said, I can't stop feeling now the tension that I'm carrying in my pelvic floor. So in other words, exactly as you say, we don't have much awareness of the tensions in the body.
Yes.
And once we start to bring shoulders up, relax the shoulders, belly, you know, is your belly hanging out or are you holding it tight? And this is another place with women and with men too, that we really have this image and picture that we need a flat belly.
Mm-hmm.
So we're holding that tight. That means we can't also take the energy really, the attention and awareness really down into the body to feel. So, that's why I really do, you know, advise that people scan the body regularly during your day, as you're sitting, walking, as you're making love, and definitely, you know, as you giving birth, but just to scan and just see where unconsciously you're holding your jaw.
Yes.
If your jaw is relaxed, that's going to affect your genitals.
Yes.
So, you know, the body is so one unit that a little relaxation here, a little tweak here, travels somewhere else. But the mind can't, it thinks, oh, that's a bit silly, you know. So, yeah, relaxation is really such a helpful tool.
Yes. I think the jaw is very important too. Midwives know the connection between the mouth and the jaw and the pelvis and the cervix opening. Yeah. Women need to let loose their jaw muscles and their mouth and breathe with a soft lips, and yeah, that's very important. I wanted to come back to the pelvic floor because I think that's really, really important, because I didn't know that for a long time also, that I had so much tension there, because as a midwife you learn, you know, for the postpartum gymnastics, the pelvic floor exercises, you know, you learn a lot about tensing the pelvis, you know, the Kegel exercises and all those stuff. And there's not put much emphasis on relaxing the pelvis, not as much as it's needed, I think. And through all this training, I thought, okay, it's always important to tense the pelvis and to have a lot of good tension there, until I realized I have too much tension there. And like you said, then when I brought my attention there, I realized I'm tensing almost all the time. And there's a moment when I can relax, and whenever I go back and really feel, it's tensing again. Yes. And I did that for a while, and I realized, like, so many things that cause me to tense up. Like we went to a concert and I didn't like the music. It was some kind of jazz music, and I felt like my pelvic floor was tensing. Yes. And that was so interesting to just have awareness what's happening and to let go again, release again. Because I think for sex and for birth, that's and for the whole health of the woman, it's very important to bring more focus to the pelvic floor and to relax there.
Yes, absolutely. And as you say, the emphasis is on tension. And it is now coming to light. Something which I've always felt is that there's too much tension and is not healthy. So, you know, as you experience, and I have people who've done pelvic floor trainings, which has now become quite popular, but the women are getting kind of infections and inflammations because the tension is not balanced with relaxation. So what is important, and women, you know, when they hear talk about the importance of relaxing the pelvic floor, they immediately think, oh, well, what about urine or, you know, incontinence and the Gebärmutter, the cervix and whatsoever. But really just tensing does not help the tissues. What we need in the tissues is tonus. So for sure we need tonus, and that comes through balancing relaxation and contraction. So not only contracting, if you contract, you know, then you relax and you play with these two possibilities, and that brings tonus, you know, that the circulation improves, the nerve supply and so on. So what I tell women is, you know, what you can do is like breathe into to the count of 5, tighten, you know, as you're breathing in slowly. So it's not just an unconscious squeeze. It's very consciously you pulling up to the count of 5 or 7, as you wish to play, and then very consciously you release to the count of 5. So it's not just squeeze, drop, squeeze, drop, squeeze, drop. It's squeeze and relax. And so you're balancing the in and the out, and that builds much more awareness into the pelvic floor.
Yes, and the releasing part is often much more difficult to do slowly than the tensing part.
Yes. Yes. So that way you really get control over the musculature and their potential through that balancing. Yes.
And also, if I look at the image with the poles, with the magnetic poles, and I think about my pelvis and my genital area being the negative pole, the receptive pole, then I would also think that I don't need too much action there. It's not the positive pole, it's not the active pole, but it's the receptive pole.
Yes, yes, absolutely. But also for man, you know, like the positive pole doesn't mean active in terms of doing something.
Mm-hmm.
It means active in terms of the capacity to convey energy or allow energy to flow through the penis. So men are generally also very tense in this area. Mm-hmm. So the tension does not help their power, their male power, their male dynamic power, which is this capacity to flow.
Yes, and I think building up tension throughout our life brings some kind of numbness to our tissues. And what I experienced, and I know this from talking to other couples about this too, that when you start to you want to make love more conscious, and you through that you become more still and slower, and then there are those moments where you don't do anything and try to feel, and you feel nothing, you feel numbness. But I think those moments are very important to let this numbness be there, and like to breathe into this numbness and to go deeper, and then it can open again. But if you say, oh, there's nothing, I'm stopping this again, this is boring, you will never get there.
Yes, no, this is really a good observation, because we have this desperate need to feel, and in sex especially. And so if we don't feel, actually, it's kind of really rocking the boat. We start to freak out. And then we start to do something with tension and sensation to try and feel. But the deeper feeling comes through this accepting of the numbness. And sometimes there literally is numbness in certain points in the vagina. And that often can be the result of an injury. You know, something that happened in the past. And if we can just stay there with it, especially if the head of the penis can just touch very delicately that numb area or even a painful area. Sometimes the old feelings, you know, there might just be some tears or something, and the tissues are liberated and become more open. So also this numbness, sometimes if we're not so present, we won't feel so much.
Yes.
And so it's just to realize it's like this. And sometimes when you make love, you are more present, and sometimes you're not. But who cares? You're making love, you know, you're in bed, you're having a nice time, you're being intimate and so on. So, yeah, it all, you know, revolves around acceptance, you know, and if we just accept what is, then we relax. But if we can't accept, then we just get tense. So when we deny things, oh, I don't want this, we just get more tense. But you say, okay, this is what is present. I just relax into it, I accept it, it's there, then things can move on.
Yes, and that's the same for birth. It's beautifully said. I think in birth you get feelings, sensations in your body where you think, oh, I don't like that so much. And when you stay with the not liking, then you tense up, and then tension becomes pain. And when you stay there, it can move, it can open, it can change.
Yes, beautiful, Kiria. That's right.
Yes. Yes, thank you very much. I wanted to tell the people about your beautiful books, because I love them. I have some of them here. I know you have more. A beautiful book for women to start is Zeit für Weiblichkeit. I don't know if it looks different now. It's a little older version. I worked with it a lot. That's beautiful. And a beautiful book for couples and also for women to start and to learn more about tantric sex is Zeit für Liebe. I love this book because I really love the way you write, and I think even the translator did a very, very good job, because when you read the book, you feel more relaxed, and you get into a beautiful, sensually relaxed state just by reading the book. I think that's the only book that did that for me in this way. And yeah. I really love the way you write, and really the translator did a very good job, because that's not always the case when you translate something. And then there's a book about relationship and emotions in partnership, Zeit für Gefühle. You wrote with your partner Raja.
Yes.
And there's also one, Zeit für Männlichkeit, about men. That's in my husband's bookshelf. I didn't find it. And you have, I think it's 2 DVDs. I don't know if it's more. It's the slow sex DVD and one about massage, right?
Yes, and also one of a public talk that I gave in the town of Bern called Making Love.
Oh, yes.
There is a new book coming out for young adults. It's actually out in German. It's called Cooler Sex.
Ah, cool.
And it's out in German. So that is something for younger women. It's the same material as in the other books, but it just, the way it's presented is a slightly different angle and has many pictures and so on. So I'll send you a copy.
Oh, yes, that's wonderful. And I wanted to say, if women want to know, find out more about their breasts and how to awaken their breasts, this book, Zeit für Weiblichkeit, is really wonderful for that, because you have some meditations on the breast inside, how women can connect to their breasts. And I think that's also very important to prepare for breastfeeding, to really fill your breasts with the love inside of you, and not just to have them be something that milk flows through. Yeah.
Well, women who have worked with me really say it makes such a difference to this breastfeeding process, because it's not like you feel you being emptied out, you know, through giving milk to the child, because you're circulating the energy within yourself. So it's kind of very revitalizing. And what I can mention is that there is a guided breath meditation for women done with my partner and I. And all these books that you've shown can be found on Living Love Shop.
Yes.
.com or .de. So there's a half-an-hour guided meditation for women for the breast.
The Malua?
The Malua, which means Mother Moon, yes.
Yes, yeah, the CD, yeah. I will put the links in. And you do wonderful, wonderful 1 week long retreats for couples, the Making Love retreats at the Waldhauszentrum in Lützelflüh in Switzerland. I've been there 3 times with my husband, and it's really a wonderful honeymoon time together. You can also get to intensive processes in your relationship, but it's also a very beautiful time just for the couple and to explore making love in a different way and really have time for each other. It's very beautiful. I highly recommend this.
And, you know, the difficulties are there just because of the misunderstandings about sex. So when we, you know, give a new idea, of course, it takes a little settling. But it's, you know, it represents really a great adventure in life. To really explore sex, because everyone's having sex, but we're not really tapping into what is possible through sex. So in that way, it is well, you've been 3 times. It is a door open.
Yes, it is. And it really changes, it changes your life, I think, and your sexuality. Because like you said, you can have beautiful sex and you can have orgasms and you can have different kinds of orgasm, different places. But it's usually, it's something that builds up and makes boom, and then it's gone pretty fast. And when you change the way you make love and you become more into the state of it's more like an orgasmic being state, like just a short happening, I would say. It's like you stay there for much longer. And
you definitely feel much more nourished and connected.
Yeah, the connection is much deeper. Because I know that I do like orgasms and sometimes also fast orgasm, but it feels like in the first moment it feels connected, but very soon after it feels like a disconnection. And I know that when we do that, we often get into a fight soon after.
Yes. It's so fascinating because we don't realize how we have sex, how it influences and impacts our daily life, our relationship, and so on. So that's very interesting observations.
Yes. And I noticed that I tend to go there when I have a lot of tension and when I have a lot of stress, because then I know it's much harder to go into this deep, relaxed state for me. I would have to do more work, and then I think with a quick releasing of the tension, I don't know. No, it's not. I don't think about that so much, but I observe that that I go there much easier when I have more tension in my life.
Well, definitely, that is often the motivation for sex, is these underlying tensions in life which start to just like buzz around in the body, and sex is a very easy way to discharge them. But it has consequences, you know, like you say.
Yes. Yeah.
You feel disconnected, you can easily have a fight. So that's why it's really good in general to do more with our bodies. You know, if we do some short exercise every day, this helps to keep the level of tension down, and that we don't then discharge it all the time in sex.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, Puja, for the time.
Really my pleasure.
I really appreciate it.
Well.
And yes, you said already the website is, I think there's two. Is it livinglove.com and the loveforcouples.com, right?
It's actually the same site, livinglove.com. And then if you want the books and so on to order from Germany, it's livingloveshop.com or .de.
Okay.
But certainly on my site, livinglove.com, you can see the range. And there's also a German site.
Yes. Thank you very much. Have a beautiful day, and my greetings to Raja.
And to Stefan. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you.
All the best for the Congress.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.